France 24's Catherine Norris Trent was following the race for us in Greater Paris in the Ile-de-France region. Catherine, Valérie Pécresse winning her region by a comfortable margin, over 45% of the voter share. Was this an expected result?
Valérie Pécresse had been hotly tipped to be re-elected as the head of the Greater Paris region. In fact, she'd staked her political career on it, saying that if she wasn't re-elected, she was going to withdraw from politics. However, now we've got to be looking forward, with that score, exit polls putting her on between 44 and 45.5% of the vote, clear of her nearest rivals, an alliance of three parties, Green, Left and Far Left parties. They come in at around 33 to 34%. So Valérie Pécresse, if these results are indeed confirmed in the official count, don't move too much, has a clear victory here over her nearest rivals. And that could be a very good springboard for her to go on and launch a presidential bid. There's a presidential election, of course, coming up in France in around 10 months' time, 2022, and there is now set to be an almighty battle for who takes on the conservative candidacy, not far right, but right, mainstream right candidacy, to try and oust Emmanuel Macron. And it has to be said, Valérie Pécresse could emerge as a strong figure in that fight. Now, she just spoke out a few minutes ago here at her campaign headquarters in the 8th arrondissement of Paris, saying that this was a belle victoire, a beautiful victory, and saying she was honoured to have been re-elected. But interestingly, she also mentioned things such as the themes of security and laïcité, secularism in France, which aren't part of the regional head's mandate. They're national political concerns, very much in the debate here. So perhaps, therefore, very slowly starting to position herself as not only having been re-elected as the head of the region, but aiming for bigger things very soon as well.
So Valérie Pécresse there, really using this victory to potentially launch maybe like a national career as president. I'm sure she's looking to eye that candidature coming up in 2022. But if, she's going to have to first convince voters to turn out to vote for her, because as we saw in the rest of the country and in the region of Ile-de-France in particular, there was really, a dismal turnout today for the second round of these regional elections.
Absolutely. So while there may have been cheers and celebrations here at Valérie Pécresse's headquarters, the overwhelming thing coming out of this election, one of them at least, is this very high voter abstention levels. 2/3 of voters again staying away from the polls, despite efforts in the past week between the two rounds of voting, politicians on all sides to get their supporters out. Well, that just didn't materialise. So it wasn't just a blip on the first round voting. This has been confirmed again a week later, and there clearly is some kind of disconnect between the French public and the political system. We saw it a few years ago with the Gilets jaunes protests, and there's been a global pandemic since then. There are all kinds of other things going on, and perhaps people not particularly fired up by regional elections, which basically are to do with control of transport systems, high school budgets and economic development in regions, so they're fairly limited in their mandates. But something about these political races aren't getting the French public to come out en masse, and that was a big drop. Back in 2015, more than 50% of voters turned out. So something has changed, and it'll be really interesting to see whether next year in the presidential election that's also the case.
Okay, Catherine Norris Trent, thank you very much for that. Catherine Norris Trent reporting to us there from right here in Paris. She was following the Ile-de-France regional election there.